Hi, welcome to our podcast, By the Poor for the Poor. I am a deficient economist. My name is Tanya Matsinge. I've been asking myself the question about, the eradication of poverty and why we do not have today a poverty museum and why we do not have today strategies that are designed to eradicate poverty, strategies that are really designed with the intent of eradicating poverty and not strategies that are designed to actually perpetuate poverty, not strategies that are designed to actually make sure that we maintain poverty alive. And when you ask these questions, I ask myself, I say, how do you expect, you go into a banking system, and the banking system, it automatically rejects poor people because they don't actually have credibility. They don't have any, record, any track record. They've got nothing. There is nothing that points to the possibility that they can actually be partners with bankers. They can be partners. They can be associated to a bank because they're not reliable. They're not reliable. But it is the same people. It is the very same people that are not reliable. That we're saying we are designing strategies. Some of them, they call them social, we have social responsibility. We want to be socially responsible. We want to be, we're trying to, to make it look nice. It's the same people that are designing this social responsible act for poor people, for people who are not, credible, in terms of the real commerce of the banking system. And we start to wonder why we are not able to eradicate poverty over these years. And I am inclined to believe that. I'm inclined to believe that the reason we are going to struggle to eradicate poverty is because we, the rich people, do not want to be associated with the poor people. The rich people are repelled by poor people. So when they see somebody who's poor, they don't even want to be associated with them. I had an experience where I partnered with somebody who comes from the poor community because I asked myself, if we're going to eradicate poverty, should it not be that the rich are partnering with the poor so that because they don't have any civilization, which is the argument that we make, so who's going to teach them civilization if us who are privileged, us who are supposedly rich, we're not willing to teach them that civilization? I wonder, I say to myself, you walk around, we are ministers, we are, rich, we're wealthy, we've got all this wealth, and we've got drivers, we've got cleaners, we've got helpers, maids who work in our households, coming from the poor, but we don't take the time to actually teach them civilization. We do not take the time to teach them the basics of how to, handle yourself, the basics of how to manage yourself. We do not package them, but we hope that one day they will not there will not be poverty. How is that possible? So how do we separate ourselves from the very same person that is cleaning my house, from the very same person that is driving me and my children to work, from the very same person that is cultivating to make sure that I go to school, so how do we at which point did we separate ourselves? At which point, and how do we believe we are going to be able to eradicate poverty with this separation? So if we have strategies that are not inclined towards saying, let's imagine that, each rich person has to adopt one poor person. Each rich person will adopt 10 poor people. And then each rich person will teach them the basics of how to be civil, of how to handle this, of how to walk, how to talk, each rich person will package one poor person. So if we're not doing that, who is going to do it? And then we're repelled by them. But we're not willing to teach them. So how are we going to get out of the cycle? How are we going to get out of the cycle? I'm reminded by a bank, I'm not going to mention the name, to respect their reputation. I'm reminded by a bank that was not ready to be associated with a particular poor person who was an entrepreneur, a very, a youngster that fights for entrepreneurship, that fights for economic liberation, that empowers other poor people. But because he's not well packaged, because he did not go to school, because he does not know how to speak the language, because he does not know how to handle himself, so if the banks do not want to partner with him or with her, how are they going to grow? How do we get from the point where we say, no, Let's be courageous, because it does take time. And I understand the fears that are behind, partnering with poor people, partnering with uneducated people, partnering with people who do not have the qualities that we're expecting from people that we want to partner with. Who is going to teach them? How are they going to learn how to speak if nobody is ready to teach them? How are they going to learn how to get out of the limited packaging if no one is willing to, if the people who have the knowledge, people who have the resources are not willing to partner with them? So who are we saying should partner with them? The poor people? So the poor must empower themselves? How is this going to work? I mean, I'm just having these questions, and it's something that is really disturbing, because it comes to a point of saying, who is more poor in terms of morality? Because, if we don't want to be associated, we don't want to be, mingling with them, because they're too dirty, because they're too poor, because they're too unstructured, because they're too untoward, if we do not have the courage, the patience, the love, the empathy to bring something to them so that they can get out of that rut, who is going to do it? So I'm making an appeal. I'm appealing to corporations. I'm appealing to businesses. I'm appealing to not look at this situation as a social responsibility, but look at it from a perspective of, really having a desire and an intention to get people, to get our own people out of poverty, because these are people that are part of our lives. These are people, they're family members. They're people that, we left behind, and they're waiting, they're hoping that somebody will look up to them. I'm appealing for us to have, corporations to have more courage. Because I know that it feels better to look at it as a social responsibility. I'm helping the poor, I'm helping the underprivileged, it's not about helping. It's really about deciding that we are going to open a poverty museum. It's about deciding that the condition for us to get out of poverty is a decision whereby we restructure our models, we restructure ourselves, we restructure our souls, our hearts, because this is where it's lacking. We restructure ourselves to a point where we say, look, we do understand that for us to get where we are, somebody had to teach us, because you were uncivil at some point as well. You were poor at some point as well, or maybe you came from wealth, but there is someone who comes from poverty that contributed to you maintaining your wealth. There's a helper that worked in your household in your wealth. There's a driver that worked in your household in your wealth. So they are also hoping that you can remember them. So if we can become more empathetic and say, I'm going to be courageous. And the reason I'm talking about being courageous is because I understand that it is not easy for somebody who's been through civilization to handle somebody who is not uncivil, somebody who is uncivil. It is very difficult for somebody who's been educated to engage somebody who's not been educated. It's very difficult, but I'm saying they, with the privilege, would also be educated. They also want to be educated. They also want to be civil. They also want to participate. So, but they did not have the privilege. So I'm calling out for at an individual level, at a corporate level, at a government level, at an institutional level, at all levels. I'm calling for us to decide that we will have a society where everyone can benefit from the growth of its economy, where everyone can benefit from the growth that we've seen. I mean, economists talked about the trickle-down effect. It never took down. They talked about a scenario whereby countries will grow and then will distribute. The trickle-down effect has not taken effect. So the distribution has not happened at the level that it's supposed to happen. I don't think that we can be a happy society until such time everybody has something. Everyone has 3 meals a day. Just the 3 meals a day, we can start there. And then we can get to other angles. But for now, it's the partnerships to say that, let's not only look for those partnerships of people who are civilized, who are well-dressed, who look like the part, who look like they can be partners with a bank, a bank can make a decision today to say that, you know what, I'm going to be more inclusive, and I'm actually going to educate, not just financial education, I'm actually going to educate these entrepreneurs, I'm going to empower them by giving them credibility, by partnering with them, even when it is not expected that I partner with them. I'm going to empower them by giving them opportunities, even though it looks like they do not deserve those opportunities. They do not deserve because they're not packaged. They're not well, they don't look correct. They don't look correct. See you next time.